the screen, and I saw it earlier this morning where the Gateway Pundit reports just released last week of lab making a COVID strand 80% more lethal. But why? Now that was my comment right there, because here it is. All of a sudden now they're making, after what we just went through with COVID, they make one even more deadly, what kills 80% of the rat or mice that they experimented on. And now we see that the government funded lab in Maryland plans to develop hybrid monkeypox strand that is more lethal than previous strands. Wickedness, wicked, wicked, wicked. So wicked. Well, this is what we're dealing with. This is why we must get these people out of office. We've got to. We've got to show up and show up strong in November 8th. Speaking of that, down here in Georgia, where we reside at the Apostolic Conservative Show, we have a record amount of numbers of voters already, early voters. We broke the record from last election cycle, and now here we are at a level not seen before. I believe they say by 50%. Now, whether that's Joe Biden and his crew on the local level across the state that is, doing more of what they did, since, let's be honest, our law down here, our election integrity bill down here in Georgia, actually gave them license to have mail-in ballots. Now, however, I from my understanding, that the mail-in ballots are inside of the polling precinct. But if a person gonna chunk it in there and they're not gonna pay any attention to them or do anything about them stuffing the box, what does it matter? So I don't know. But one thing I am realizing is that they can do all this they want to, but if we the people who are waking up and rising up all across the country to take a stand against these tyrannical leaders, then we can still overwhelm the ballot box, just like we did in Arizona for Carrie Lake. The people that rose up for her, that stood up and voted for Carrie Lake over the incumbent, even when the incumbent was I mean, let's face it, the incumbent was getting support from the Democrats in that election, but because we the people rose up and waited to election day to vote. Now, we've done some calling and we've seen that there's a lot of voters in Georgia, in our county, that they're red, they're ultra MAGA. They've already voted. I hope that it doesn't get misplaced or anything like that. But they didn't mail in, they voted. And so we know traditionally that conservative Republicans vote on election day. And so I know there's many more out there. I've talked to many more that haven't. I've talked to several that say that they're waiting to election day to vote. Now think about this right here. Our GOP party down in Douglas County has grown exponentially over the last couple of years, like it hasn't in a long time. I'll just be honest with you. There were a handful of people that were showing up prior to 2020. Right now, you could feel a football team squad, and nobody has to play two positions. I mean, and up above that at times. So, and if you grew up in a town like I did, where football was the passion, you dressed out 100 students or more a game. And so I'm telling you, and my point in bringing that up is that we that are not working the election booth are gonna show up on election day, and we're gonna vote then. And we're gonna vote like we never voted before. We're gonna overwhelm the ballot box.